comes.
Are we good, 8-track?
The world is waiting.
All right, I'm sorry.
I think on that note, I'll go ahead and jump out of this panel.
All right, well, everyone, this guy here who's about to get up and go over there and I don't know, probably go on his smartphone is Austin Hadeen, a.k.a. Bajati, the head of Everfree Northwest. So, and it's his birthday.
Oh.
But this guy's way cooler than me, really.
I don't have nearly the amount of David Tennant in me that. Well, that sounded horrible. No, I don't look nearly enough like Doctor Who. But anyway, all right. Well, let's get this panel started. This is the MLP production panel, and so it's kind of an interesting panel for me to moderate because to my right, aside from the giant screen of Daniel Ingram, lead composer for My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. To his visages, I guess it would be left to the audience, is Meghan McCarthy. She is the lead show writer now for My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic and also wrote many of the most beloved of the episodes, including Party of One, Lesson Zero, and then also, of course, the Canterlot wedding episodes. So they're awesome. I think applause. Come on. And at the other end of the table, we have Amy Keating Rogers. And she is also known for a lot of great episodes, including, I think, Bridal Gossip. I mean, you also did, I'm trying to think of Last Roundup. You did Mystery on the Friendship Express. So, a lot of great episodes as well. During the voice actor panel, I asked a question of the VAs on the stage, and I asked, what the interaction was like between the production staff and the voice acting and the production staff and the voice acting staff that are in Vancouver, and then the writing staff that are in Los Angeles. And so for the three of you, I actually wanted to ask you all, what has this fandom done to affect how you guys, interact? Because I imagine, of course, with conventions like this and panels like this one, you get a lot more interaction than you would on other programs. And I guess maybe
start with me.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the writing staff is all based in Los Angeles, and then literally everyone else except for Tara is based in Vancouver. So we don't see them ever. It's not like we're all in the same building or same room, and probably wouldn't get to see them or ever meet them if it weren't for these conventions that bring us all together. And it has been amazing. I mean, I've gotten to be such better friends with them, and then I already have their voices in my head when I'm working, but really getting to know them and just seeing what great people they are and just knowing what they can do and how talented they are, it makes me want to do even better and give them even better material to work with, just because I feel even closer to them. So it's just been a great opportunity. I mean, it's nice that we get to hang out when we normally wouldn't. So.
Yep, what she said.
Yeah, it's really starting to feel like a family. All the I guess after this many seasons, and all of us kind of bonded around the popularity of this show. It's and I think that's what contributes a lot to how much we care about it too.
Well, and one thing that a lot of people may have heard in earlier interviews, or if they haven't, is that actually for the episodes that the writers over here, Meghan and Amy, have written, the episodes that include songs, they write the lyrics, and then Daniel, you take those lyrics and turn them into the songs that we hear. And I wanted to see if you guys could speak about how that interaction works. How much do you guys influence each other, and how does that affect the final outcome of the songs that we end up hearing on the show?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we write the lyrics, and then it gets sent off to Daniel, and kind of beyond that, we don't have any interaction. Usually in our scripts, we give some sort of direction to the feel or the vibe of the song that we want. So, for instance, with the Smile song, I said that I wanted it to be upbeat and sunny and fun, like It's a Sunshine Day from the Brady Bunch. And Daniel completely captured that, you know, taking my lyrics and then turning it into a very wonderful, fun, upbeat song.
Yeah, this is the first time we've talked actually now, right? Amy?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy process that way. But yeah, usually you put the lyrics in the script, and like Amy was saying, something that you were kind of, the vibe that you were sort of going for. But then, you know, you hand it to Daniel and you're like, work your magic, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I learned a phrase because I think Daniel had said that my lyrics usually scan, which is a term I had not heard before, which is, I guess it just means like he is not going like, how is the rhythm of this song possibly going to make any sense? You have like 6 syllables and then 12 syllables and then 8 syllables and then 52 syllables. That doesn't make any sense. So that's definitely something that I don't hear a tune or anything in my head, but I'm definitely writing to a rhythm that I hope that he'll feel that rhythm as he's reading the lyrics, and that will help him in some way, so he's not like, I hate you.
Yeah. And I'm a little.
That's like the first thing I try to do. Like that's really, I guess, the first interaction is when the script comes in, is reading it and trying to feel that sense of flow from the lyrics, and a lot of the direction of the song is dictated by that. And like I'll kind of usually come up with a couple different options, but if I really was confused, I would probably call you up or email and say, can we tell me how you're imagining this going, like in terms of how the lyrics scan. But they always work out really well, so it's been pretty streamlined so far.
And I'm a little different than the other writers. I do like to have a tune in my head, so I either generally base it off of an existing song, or I come up with my own tune. And even though I do that, Daniel always comes up with something far more awesome than I could possibly muster up. So, you know, it's just different ways of writing. I would even do scratch tracks for all of them that I guess just disappeared into the ether, which is probably for the best. So just different ways of working.
Well, so
yeah, they never share those with me. I don't know.
I think that's hilarious. And I keep looking back at you as if you can see me. And
I've been doing the same thing, yeah.
I think it's funny you never got them, and then, like I said, I think it's probably just as well, because I wouldn't have wanted, you know, my version to hinder you in any way.
Well, so.
But I think the musicality comes across. I think you can, when you're writing it to, like I write lyrics to some now as well for some songs I've been doing, and you know, it really does change the context a lot when you're singing it to a musical idea. So I think
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh. That and you know, this is the risk of having to rely on a wireless network in a convention full of internet-based bronies. No, I think, you know, hopefully we'll reconnect. But before he, you know, reconnects, I wanted to ask, and that was a really, really horrible still frame, wasn't it? Oh, there it is. Are you back?
What was I doing? Was I like winking and making?
You were giving us all like a weird kissy face.
Great.
Well, before I forget too, you've got an awesome pin you're wearing there. I like that Rainbow Dash pin you got there.
Yeah, thanks. That's actually I was all.
Nice.
God.
Well, I want
To Vancouver a long time ago, and did you check out this poster? Look at that.
Well, that's awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
Can you see it? I don't know if you
Yeah,
can see
I can see it's got a vinyl and it's got Octavia and it's got a couple other ponies, I think, towards the bottom there.
Yeah, it's got Rainbow Dash, Vinyl, and Octavia, just the 3. And then it's signed by a lot of the community musicians. So Alex S. is there, and Jack Lapp, and Silva Hound, and Pinkie Pie Swear, and a whole bunch of others. It's really, really nice of them to give me that.
Oh yeah, that thing's awesome. I think I saw them signing it too, and they were very excited to give it to you. I wanted to ask Megan, for she wrote or at least the lyrics, I believe, for This Day Aria, which has become, in a lot of fans' eyes, the most popular song. I mean, its video on YouTube is just exploding with hits, and I mean, it's one of the most remixed songs I've ever heard, or redone songs that people just sing their own renditions of it. I wanted to ask, Meghan, since you write songs differently, I should say write the lyrics for songs differently, when you wrote that song, did you have a tune or an idea, or at least like a genre in mind then, or did you just write the lyrics and then throw it at Daniel and say, work your magic?
I didn't really have a tune in mind. I think I had sort of a feel in mind. I mean, I definitely was thinking of sort of the classic Disney villain, sort of that kind of idea to it. And I just love the idea of having this back and forth and have the parallel sort of lyrics, but one is this very sweet, loving, and then one is pure evil. I just love that juxtaposing those two ideas, and I wanted it to have that Disney sort of quality to it, but it wasn't a specific tune that I was hearing. Just again that I kind of think of it as in a rhythm. It's more of like writing a poem to me.
So how do you send those kinds of notes along to Daniel, or do you call him up and say, I'm looking for a Disney-esque sound with this song? Or do you write it in the lyric?
I don't remember if I should look at I brought one of the pages from the script to sign today in case anybody wanted. I don't remember if I described it that way. I mean, within the context of that episode, to me, I don't know if this would be how Daniel felt when he got it, but to me, that's just what it felt like it should be. I mean, it's coming to this kind of crescendo. It needed to be this big musical number. I mean, when I heard what he did with it, I was just blown away because it was so orchestral and so big and so dynamic, and I knew that I wanted something like that, but I had no idea that it would be taken to that level of amazingness when it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I gotta finish this song. Which is, I think, probably why the first 2 seasons, all the episodes, all the characters in all my episodes go crazy, is because that almost every single one of them was written between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m.
That sounds like
because I had kids, and I had 2 kids, and I didn't have childcare at the time, so it was like, put the kids to bed, mommy's gotta go to work.
I think that kind of explains why Lesson 0 is so neurotic.
It was about anxiety of making a deadline, and yeah.
Well, so Daniel, when you receive a script with the lyrics like that, how many different iterations of a song do you go through before you hit the one that you really like to, that you end up releasing? Or is it that when you get lyrics, you kind of suddenly have an inspiration and you have just a clear vision of what the song is going to be right away?
It actually changes a lot. Sometimes a song will go through several iterations. I know with like the BBFF song, BB, Big Brother, Best Friend, BBBF. Anyways, you know
all those B's in and out.
I had written a totally different chorus for that song and recorded it as a demo. And then like 2 weeks later, I just kept thinking, it was bothering me. I could tell it was too fast what I'd done. So there will be times I'll go back and revise things. In the case of This Day Aria, that song was written in 2 parts. It was funny because they were casting for Cadence, and they wanted to cast somebody who could sing the song. And so literally it was like 2 days before casting, they sent me the script and said, hey, can you give us something that we can cast with? Just write like a bar of singing or a few bars of singing. So the opening bars that you hear basically where Cadence sings. That opening melody, or actually both parts, that opening where both of them get their chance to sing. I wrote that just like the day before as a sketch and sent it off, and then they recorded all the actresses for that, and then that kind of came back to it a few months later, and they said, we're just used to this now. We like it. Can you just take this and go from there? And so that song was kind of distinct in that sense that it was written at 2 with a big gap in between it. But I think that one just came out as just one sketch. Others take several sketches before they're done.
Well, and one thing I really liked about what you did with This Day Aria is you used the musical device of a deceptive cadence, as kind of like which I thought was really, really clever given, the storyline. And I wanted to know if there are any other little musical inside references that people haven't caught that you put into any of the other songs for the show that maybe could be revealed, if there are any.
That's a great question. I mean, there is something coming up in season 3.
Oh.
But there's nothing in season 2 other than that comes to mind. So you just have to keep listening for the next generation of songs and see if you can find the next little Easter egg I put in there.
Well, one thing you told me when we met up in person at Everything Northwest was that after Amy Keating Rogers sent along the lyrics and the demo for the Smile song, that your original version of it was very different from what people have heard.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you could tell the audience what that difference was.
It was just slower. It was the same song, but I think I was feeling kind of like sentimental that day or something, because I listened back to it and it feels so slow now. But I had done like a more of a thoughtful song, in the sense that the tempo was probably 20 or 30% slower than it is now, and you can hear what that would sound like, because one of the artists in the community, Zabrina, did a version of that song very slow, and it's great. I mean, it takes a very different quality. It becomes quite more of a tender song. But so I went and recorded the whole thing with Shannon, all like 4 minutes of it or whatever it was at that tempo, and it took us hours. And then we sent it into Hasbro, and they were like, "No, we want it faster," and it feels a little kind of not depressing, but just a little too sentimental. And so we had to go and re-record the whole thing at significantly faster speed, and it worked out great. It makes more sense the way it is now.
Just so everybody in the audience can feel assuaged, when you said 20 or 30%, I think just about everybody everywhere thought 20% cooler. Let's just get that out there. We all recognize it, and we can move on. Well, when you write songs, and Meghan and Amy, when you write the lyrics for these songs, and I guess this could be extended to when you write the scripts for episodes, now that we're into, season 3's coming up, did you write those episodes, and we can't talk about the details, but did you write those episodes and those songs knowing that there was a brony community and that they were going to take every second of them and create based off of that? Or do you, when you go through that process, kind of separate yourself from that knowledge to try and just create something independent? Does that make sense? I mean, I guess, for example, Daniel, the songs you write, every single song that ever appears in the show is almost instantaneously remixed by at least a good 10, 15 brilliant artists. And I wonder how that may have affected, how you write songs now that you're aware of the brony fandom, now that it's been a year or two.
I try not to let that cloud the writing process. I mean, the writing process is and I'm sure the girls will say the same thing. It's intimidating. You have a time deadline. You've really got to focus on trusting your own instincts. And I think one of the biggest hindrances to that is if you kind of get too much in your head around, like, well, what are other people going to think of this, and how are they going to react, and is this going to suit this audience? Or I try to actually put most of that out of my head and just write what my instincts tell me is the right thing to do. And then often once the initial song has been written and it's being produced and we're recording it, then I'll start to imagine what the fan base will do with it, and I get excited to hear those. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is hear all the remixes that are out there. It's just such a treat.
Well, there are a couple of the bigger brony musicians in the room right now. I'm looking at Silverhound, and I know that AJ the engineer was here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that the songs have had that impact, but I think that also that independence must be important. And I know that when I've spoken with writers, you guys really don't go and read fanfics or...
We're not allowed to.
Yeah, we're not allowed.
I would want to, but I can't, because ideas are out there in the ether, and we could do an episode that if it seemed like, I'm out there reading fan fiction and you did one about, Rainbow Dash does whatever, and that ends up in the show, you could be like, you stole my idea, which is just, when you have these characters in this world, there's going to be chances that what we do on the show overlaps with something that someone's done in fan fiction, so I can't read it. But I love the fact that it inspires people to write. I think that's an honor that people are so moved by the material that they want to make it their own. They want to take it to different places and explore things that we don't always get to do on the show.
Well, would you say then that you know, when you're writing the episodes now as opposed to, say, 2 years ago, that you try to approach it exactly the same? I mean, it seems like that's how you're creating.
Yeah, I mean, I from the very beginning, it's just been about strong storytelling. And I've said this anytime that kind of question has come up, that we're not going to change it if it wasn't broken. You know, people like this show from the beginning, and it's grown because of what it started out as. So for us to all of a sudden be like, no, we need to start thinking about how to do this thing and go. You know, let's just keep things on track and keep things going for what attracted people in the first place. I think it would be a mistake for us to overthink and overanalyze it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I know I have the same experience with my Facebook page. People are often posting links to fan written songs, and I want to listen to them so badly because I feel like, you know, I'd love to know what they're doing, and so much work went into them, but I have to immediately remove them from my Facebook page so no one get offended by that because of the same reason Megan's describing it. You can listen to remixes and stuff, but you can't actually listen to original songs.
Well, would you say, though, now when you see, for example, Megan and Amy, when you see your scripts brought to life, and Daniel, when you see your songs put into the, you know, of course, I should give a real shout out. I mean, I was going to do this either way, but a real shout out to the artist crew, the artists of DHX, including, Sibsy, Raven, Jason, Teeson, you know, Woody, all of them out at DHX, Jim. You know, the storyboarders, and then of course the layout artists and the guys at Top Draw, you know, to create the visuals of the show. But when you see those visuals and you see, you know, the fans' reaction to, for example, you know, how popular the story of you know, a Canterlot wedding became, have you ever found that the response from the public was different than you expected? Or you know, have you ever been, say, in a sense, aside from, of course, you know, the brony phenomenon being an incredibly surprising phenomenon, have you ever found that, you know, when you wrote a scene, that after it had been produced and animated and orchestrated and put out there, that it came off differently than you had intended?
Very rarely has it come off differently than I intended. It's just better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely better.
Yeah, I know with Party of One, the scene where she's talking to the rocks and the lint. You know, when I was writing that scene, first of all, I was just like, I cannot believe that this is what is happening on the page right now. And here you go. Are you going to keep this? Really? Okay. And so, you know, and then it's such a long process between when we turn it in, and we don't hear the voice records, and we don't see any of the boards or anything at that stage. So, you know, we don't see it until it airs. And so when I saw that for the first time, I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome! This is like taking it to a whole new level of crazy that I was just, you know, I was here. And
you did write in Madame Lafleur. I mean, did you really expect any less?
Well, I thought it might go certain places, but yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised how that turned out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there were any scenes that specifically jump out in my head of being. I mean, it's always just plussed. It's always improved, and just seeing everything in full color coming to life, and even, you know, just the voice actors are so amazing, and they put so much more funny in there than I imagined. I mean, getting to hear the Chimichurri scene and that banter was just so much fun, and so, you know, just kooky. And actually, in last roundup, the cherry sorting scene, the I Love Lucy reference, they got it, and then it was just so cool to see it in action, because I imagined it in my head in action, but, you know, the thought of Applejack running on it and them trying to sort and just all of that, and they got all of it, and it was just, you know, so amazing to see all of that, and, you know, because I'm a huge I Love Lucy fan, to see it come to life that way, it was really, that was very exciting.
So would you say, I mean, it seems like when you were describing how when you send the lyrics off to Daniel to produce the music, or when you send the scripts off to the animators to actually create the visuals of it, you, in a sense, you guys as writers don't necessarily try to micromanage, an exact vision of what you're expecting. You send off your script and you kind of maybe put your faith in their talents.
Yeah, they don't ask us. You send off your script and that's what it is. It's not like they go, hey, they check in, and if we went, hey, we want to check in, they'd be like, your part's done.
But
So,
I'd say it's kind of a strange thing. I feel as a writer that my first job is the structure of the story. That the characters, there's a beginning, middle, and an end. There are act breaks that make you want to come back from commercial to see what happens. The characters move along in a way that makes sense. That's my job. That's my most important job. I would say even, when I say, oh, I write for the show My Little Pony, they'll say, oh, you write what they say. And that to me is, in a weird way, is like almost the least important part of my job, because it's not just about what the characters say, it's about what they do. And so that I feel like that's what my job is, and I just always know that as long as I have these scenes structured in a way that makes sense, sometimes if I have something really in my head exactly how I want it to play out, I'll describe it in greater detail, but I also know that I can just be like, friendship makes things go crazy, and they will just, blow things up with rainbows in a totally awesome way.
Or talking piles of rocks.
The most common question when I tell people I write songs on the show, the first thing most people say is, "Oh, do you do the sound effects?" And I'm always like, "Well, I don't know why, but people always think the sound effects are like part of the most important part of the card." I mean, I guess they're very important, but it's interesting. I guess it's your comment, Megan, about asking if you write the words. It's the same thing.
Well, and one thing too I want to do is also give a real shout out to Will Anderson and Stephen Andrews, who both have done a lot of, like, Will Anderson does the actual scoring for the music you hear between songs, and Stephen Andrews does orchestrating there in Vancouver, and I think they really deserve a round of applause because they don't get nearly enough recognition.
And I gotta give a shout out to David Torman too. He's sort of there's two guys I work closely with when we get into production on the song. And David's he's one of those, he doesn't like to be in the limelight. He's kind of doesn't have a Facebook or Twitter or anything. But he records all the guitars and mandolins and stuff with me, and he's a big influence on the sound of the show too.
Well, so I wanted to ask.
One other unsung.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I just said he's another unsung person.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of wanted to ask you guys maybe go through the anatomy of how you build a. I mean, obviously the animation is done elsewhere, but for example, the Smile song. We Amy, you wrote the lyrics and you came up with the demo of it. When you wrote that song, did you know exactly how long in the episode it would take, or did you write the song and just say, okay, it's about this length, and then going off of that, Daniel, when you composed the song, did you have a set time that you knew you were going to be working with, or did you have other elements that kind of constricted what you did, or was it more open? Was it, there's a song here are the lyrics, and do what you will?
Well, I mean, I put action of what she was doing through the song, and the song actually was longer. There was a big patter section in the middle of it that got cut, which was fine. It would have totally kind of put the brakes on the song while it was, building momentum. So, and I knew I had to try and fill out basically Act 1 with that song. So I was just, going for pages and writing and trying to make it a really epic song so that it would, accomplish that, filling that Act 1 for the most part. And then it got passed on to Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the page count generally kind of dictates how long a song is going to be, like a kind of, and I'll ask the directors and the producers when I get it, like, so are we looking at like a couple minutes here or 3 or 4, and songs always end up being longer than they wanted, and then there's this bit of a battle while they try to see if they can cut it down, and I go, no, it can't be cut down. They're like, can't we just cut a little bit out? And I'm like, no. And sometimes they do anyway, so there's that. But yeah, I think I could see from that song or Winter Wrap Up, or at the gala, when they cover like 5 pages of script, you kind of know you're in for a good ride there.
So is it then kind of like Jason Thiesen's, decision, or maybe even the storyboarder's decision on where songs get cut, where where it fits into that?
It happens it happens. It's Jason's decision, I think. A lot of times, the song gets recorded in its full length, and there are longer versions of some songs out there, and then once they get it in, they have to really, he puts the story first, of course. So if the song would take up too much of the time to allow for the piecing of the major plot points, then it just has to get cut down a little bit. So I think Fluttershy's Fantasy, that was cut down in season 1. So Many Wonders, that song, and a few others like that had went under the knife just because they took up too much time.
I'm going to ask the question that I think a lot of people are already wondering, which is, are those uncut versions of the songs ever going to be released? Do you have any idea, or is that up to Hasbro?
It's totally up to Hasbro. I mean, I know if they were to come to me and say we're going to do a soundtrack, that we would prepare the full-length versions, and I'm sure that they have I know for example, in the Canterlot wedding episode, right, that final song, they released the longer version of it 2 days after the episode aired on their website, and they had done a kind of montage edit to it. That's the final wedding song, "Love Is in Bloom," that Meghan did lyrics for, which is great. And so I know that they want the full-length songs to be out too.
Well, I think we've got just enough time to go through a bit of Q&A. And I think, is there a wire? Do you have a wireless mic? You do. Wonderful. Do you want to hand it off? All right. So this fine gentleman here is going to hand the microphone off. And obviously, there's a lot to talk about here with only a limited amount of time. So.
Yeah, let's go right over here.
I wanted to know what kind of inspiration you guys got for, writing an episode or writing a song. What goes through your mind? Do you read a book? Do you go out for a walk or something? Or you said you couldn't really, read any fanfics or listen to any original music. Just what kind of goes
Just
through?
watch Brady Bunch episode. No. Gosh, it comes out of nowhere a lot of times. I mean, a lot of times if you're sitting there trying to think of an episode idea, you will bang your head against the wall all day long and sit there for hours, and then you'll go take a walk and be like, oh, and then okay, got it, and you'll go write it down. So it's you never know I never know where they're gonna come from, and that to me is actually the hardest part of my job. Like, once there's a premise, I know it will happen. I will be able to execute this. There will be an episode at the end of the day. It's when I'm staring at that blank page and it's like, what is the basic log line of the story you're going to tell? But we have such a great group of characters and dynamics between those characters that a lot of times it might just be like, okay, we're going to throw Rarity and Rainbow Dash in a situation. What would be the most fun to watch the two of them have to either accomplish together when they have differing points of view, or something that would cause a rift in their relationship? So the fact that we have this great character base to work from is also sort of a source of the stories.
And we also, coming up with ideas, we would get into a room. We would have writers' summits and just spitball around the room. And that's a good way, because then it's not just you sitting alone in front of a computer and trying to pull something out of your brain. Then if you're bouncing ideas around, it just helps a lot. So.
And you'll find them evolve too.
Yeah.
Like, someone will come in with one idea, and then by the end it looks completely different, but in a good way usually.
Yeah, in a good way.
Hey, this one's more for the writers, kind of pondering between you and the storyboarders, because you indicated that you don't have a lot of direct interaction with the storyboarders and the people who really put things together. What is kind of the push and pull there? How specific do you make, I don't know, for instance, Pinkie Pie takes the cupcake and sets it specifically here. How specific do you make it? Do you have something really specific in your head that you're trying to really communicate to the storyboarders that you want it to play out like this way, or how does that work?
For me, it's if it's really something that's integral to moving the story forward, then I'll describe it very specifically. But like you're saying, as far as staging things, like she's eating a cupcake, well, they'll have her eat the cupcake in a very specific way, and I'll have just written Pinkie Pie eats a cupcake. And then if there are certain gags or things like that I know I want to play out a certain way, then I'll describe those in greater detail. But you know what, different writers on the show write differently. Some people love to direct on the page or really describe every action on the page, and some people like to keep it very loose. And so far, I haven't heard anybody up north complain about it. They might behind our backs, but yeah, it kind of depends on the writer too.
Yeah, it's true. As long as you put something in there that's essential for the story. Yes, you're saying what different characters are doing, but you don't go into every detail of Rarity's doing this and Rainbow Dash is doing, if it's not essential, so they can add that kind of stuff. If it's about, the two, if it's Twilight and Pinkie Pie talking, and there's an action that's important for that scene, you put that in, but you don't have to worry, it's not like we say, and Rainbow Dash is up in the corner in the clouds, and, things like that. If that's not important, they get to go wild with the visuals, and they're awesome at it.
Well, and I know that with because I talked to the storyboard artists quite a bit.
What'd they say about us?
They say that they like to have that freedom, that flexibility to be able to interpret it. So, yeah, that's at least what they tell me.
Somebody asked this during the voice acting panel, and they said that they should ask you. And they had asked that during the episode Party of One, if Rainbow Dash hadn't come to Pinkie Pie's house.
Oh yes, what would have happened to
yeah,
Pinkie
what would
Pie?
have happened?
It wouldn't have been pretty, I'm sure.
So many hands.
There's a censorship of Derpy. How'd you feel about the censorship of Derpy since you wrote last roundup?
I kind of want to just quickly interject on this one too, because this is something that came up at Midwestria that Amy. Okay, you guys know that Amy Keating Rogers here wrote the last roundup. I want to just say this again because I think this is something that just has not disseminated among the fandom and just hasn't been made clear despite a million attempts. She's not responsible for the changes to Derpy.
No, I know she isn't, but...
And hold on. This is a touchy topic, and I'm going to just throw this out there, and I'm just going to say this based off of everyone I've talked to within the production staff, the writers. Derpy is the fandom's character. She's not gone in that sense. She's not been excised. She's still in the episode, and I think there's a lot of unfortunately negative energy being directed towards some of the writing staff and towards Hasbro over what is really, in the end, it's a minor change, and that can't take away, the fandom's vision of the character. So I really think that the unfortunate thing that people haven't heard, and I know Amy, we've talked about this a lot, is that she has gotten quite a bit of hate mail, quite a bit of negative attention from a lot of fans online around this issue, and I really think that we need to do something about that.
Yeah. No,
So
I'm sure you
I
did.
think
No.
I think she deserves. I think Amy deserves a bit of credit for what she has done for the show, and really just for those of you out there who are listening to this right now, I know I mean you know what I'm talking about because you've had to live through it. So
Thank you.
I think we all love Amy Keating Rogers, honestly.
Listen, I know you didn't. I'm sure you didn't know. As far as the changes happened, and that is what it is. And unfortunately, when the changes happened, people got very upset, and I didn't change it. So,
I know you didn't, but the censorship there.
well, it's again, it is what it is, and she's still in there, and she's still clumsy, and her voice is a little different, and it's probably more to the voice that would have been cast, really. But she's still around, and she is the fans' creation, and you guys can write wonderful stories about her because she is yours, and you need to love her for who she is and what you created, and she is awesome. So, you guys made her a pony that loves muffins and delivers mail. Okay, so that's cool and amazing. So I think that, what's done is done, and we have to kind of leave it in the past. And it's, yes, there are differences, but she's still plenty different.
Oh, and I'm going to just say this right now. Vinyl Scratch's eyes are maroon. Let's just get that out there. You can watch the episode. It's there. It's obvious. The funniest thing I've ever seen was a color-corrected image that said, if you adjust the lighting, you can see her eyes are actually red, and the entire image is red. It's just and I know that Epic... Rob Bob over there made a fan animation with Vinyl Scratch in there. Yeah, and one of the funniest comments I've ever seen, or I've talked with him about before, was, the creators are wrong, her eyes are red. But anyway, let's get to the next question.
This is mostly geared towards the writers, but what writers had an influence on your writing style?
That's a good question.
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, maybe more specifically, when you guys, because you mentioned, Megan, that you really follow a structure when you're writing an episode. I know, Amy, to some extent, you definitely do that as well.
Sure.
And when you're I know that you're now doing the lead writer. What's the official title, so I don't misquote?
I guess it's head writer or story editor.
Well, when you approach writing episodes, is there a model that you're following, and is it based off of another type of, say, television writing?
It's definitely a 3-act structure. We have 3 the 7-minute acts, and you want to end each of the acts with something that makes people want to see what happens next. So that's the main. I mean, that's the that's screenwriting structure 101 right there. So it's definitely following that and trying to have what's called an inciting incident, which is what's the event that kicks off the story to get things moving, and then what are those 2 major turns at the end of the first act and the end of the second act. But as far as writers that I guess influenced me, I kind of on a side track of that. When I was younger, I was always interested in all of these different things, and I kept changing what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was like, I'm going to be an astronaut. No, you just saw Space Camp. I'm going to age myself. Or, I'm going to be a lawyer. No, you just thought A Few Good Men was really good, or whatever. And then I started to realize that if I was a writer, then I could be all of those things whenever I wanted to be. So I think just life and knowing my brain is kind of what influenced me. I mean, then I studied and read a lot of scripts and read movies, scripts to movies and movies that I liked and things like that to learn how to do it. But it was really the discovery for me that for screenwriting, it's a very left brain, right brain. It's like creative math, where there is a structure, there's a formula that you have to fit things into, but those things can be crazy, but they need to fit into that. So that kind of understanding my brain actually influenced my writing the most.
Well, I see Silvahound over there with his hand up. I gotta let him ask a question.
Uh-oh, I think my audio cut out.
Nope. He's just getting to the microphone.
Hey, Daniel, it's Silva.
Hey, how you doing, man?
All right. This is a question for you and the writers as well, because I'm just curious. I'm pretty sure a lot of us are curious. How is the interaction between you and the writers? Because I'm pretty sure that, the composers, the storyboard writers, the voice actors, I'm pretty sure at one point of time, everybody has to come together at one point, during the production of an episode. So I'm just curious, how is the interaction between you and the writers?
It's pretty compartmentalized, really. I mean, I know that, as the writers were saying, they're the first ones. They write their script. Once that gets locked, it's sent up to production, and then I'm second in line to do the song because that has to be written before the voices are recorded. Next, the voices are recorded, and at that point, I'm out of the process. It goes on to the storyboard artist and the director at that stage, and then the storyboard artist, and then they piece together the episode. And by this point, the writers are onto their next scripts, and I'm onto the next songs, and it starts to flow through the production process from there. A lot of times, we don't even see the finished product until the mix. In my case, I get to go to the final mix, or in the writer's case, they see it on TV.
Maybe we could take did you have a question lined up there? Okay.
Will Applejack ever have her own song?
That sounds to me like a season 3 spoiler detail that couldn't be talked about legally.
Maybe.
Wink twice if there's a possibility of that question ever being answered at some point.
Yeah, we can't say that, but I know. I definitely know we've got every singer on this show. We've really found such talented people between the actors and the singing doubles, and they all deserve a chance to have a song.
Yeah, we want all of them to get to sing for sure. I mean, if they haven't yet, that's definitely something that we would like to see happen if it isn't already.
Hello. And hello. So through different rumors of different voice actors, writers, and whatnot, I've heard stories about people contacting you and saying that you touch people in good ways.
That we what?
Sorry. In non-physical ways, of course.
It's all about the phrasing.
And a lot of it is rumors. I do know of one that was confirmed about Tara Strong, but I was hoping you guys could tell me maybe a story or two that how people have written to you and told you how you've influenced them in a really good way.
I've gotten lots of letters from people, especially having to do with the Derpy situation, and people writing, the positive things that happened were people who really were so happy that character was included and that they felt that they were being represented, and so that was, that it really helped change them. And I'm sure people know this, but I'm just going to say it again. I am the mom of a child with special needs, so to me that it's very important to me that this character touches people and represents that community, because that community is my community. So I get letters all the time from people just saying that it's great that they get to see somebody that's like them in the pony world.
And I was at BronyCon, and there was a mom there who was there with her two, probably high school age son, and then maybe either a middle school or elementary school age, and just came up to me and was kind of saying how the older son had gotten into pony, but he was like keeping it a secret from everybody in his house, and then his younger brother found out, and then it was like their kind of secret, and then they both kind of came out to their mom that they were pony fans. And she was, surprised by it and everything, but it was really cool she was there with bringing them to the con to support their interest in the show, and she said that it's been such a great, it's strangely like a parenting tool for her, because they'll be having some argument or whatever, and she'll be like, what would Pinkie Pie do? And her teenage boys are like, oh my God, you're right. And they'll, resolve their, and so for me, I'm a mom, and so to see, another mom get a value like that out of the show is kind of exciting for me. I'm hoping to use it on my own children.
Well, and Daniel, I imagine you get a lot of interaction with fans.
Yeah, I've had some really touching stories. I get, whether they're emails or postings on my wall or links to stories people have written just about how certain songs really touch their lives or improve their mood. One of the stories I remember was quite moving, is about a young man who was working in a hospital with children with cancer. And this girl, had to deal with a lot of unfortunate things in her life, and she just loved Pinkie Pie, and she loved the show. And for her, the No Fear song was, this is back in season 1, was, made her smile and made her have some courage with her situation.
I think you're referring to the hop, skip, and the jump song. That I think that's what the fans have at least titled it.
Oh, really?
The Giggle at the Ghostie. There we go.
Giggle at the Ghosties, yeah.
Who is best pony?
Oh, good lord. All right, this has been established scientifically. It's Twilight Sparkle. This is known.
Spike is best pony.
Have you learned nothing from the show? Every pony is best pony.
I think we got time for maybe one more question. We got to wrap it up so that the magician can set up.
Ooh, magic.
So there's a lot of television shows out there that have these little self-contained episodes where everything's wrapped up at the end, and everything can be played in any order, and it doesn't really matter. In this show, characters learn things. They start at the beginning, they have a problem, they figure something out about themselves or about other people, and they get better. But there aren't a lot of episodes that have a longer arc that lasts over an entire season. How do you feel about the relative draws of those two aspects? Having character development that actually takes place over the span of 7 or 8 episodes versus the importance of having these little self-contained units?
I mean, I personally love stuff that's serialized that way. It's a very different thing to do on a show like this. There can be elements of that, or something like with all the Grand Galloping Gala, that was something that could be threaded across a few episodes. So that's something that we can do on this that I think is fun, to be able to revisit something like that across a few things. Hasbro was afraid I was going to say something.
I think the sound equipment is sneezing.
What's happening? Powers that be are like, shut it down. But so, trying to do stuff like that of trying to carry something across a few episodes is something that's possible for us to do, but hard to do. It's much harder for us to do something that's like a connective tissue between all the episodes, because they do need to be able to stand alone, because when they air other places, they don't necessarily air in the order in which they're produced here. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. But the fact that we do have character development within the episodes, I think that's part of the reason that it's so successful, is that you really do see a character go through something, so you're genuinely invested in them rather than gag. And not that there's wrong with shows that are just wall-to-wall gags and whatever, the characters all end up the same at the end. But I think that is part of why this has built such a big fan base, is because you do get to really invest in a character's journey in the individual episodes.
Well, and I did think it was kind of interesting, actually, in Midwestria, that Amy, you described 3 of the episodes in season 1 as a trilogy involving the Grand Galloping Gala. So I mean, there are those little elements that kind of overarch throughout the series. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be episode by episode, I think. Good, we got Daniel back. Well, actually, we got to wrap this up, but I did want to, give a huge.
Can I share something?
Oh, sure. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Oh wait,
I
and
forgot.
before she shares that, I want to say, if you didn't get a chance to ask a question at the panel today, I'm on Twitter, which you should all follow me anyway.
I hear that Tara Strong's on Twitter,
updating how my
too.
soccer team is doing. It's really fascinating. I'm on Twitter at Meghan with an H McCarthy. So if you didn't get to ask a question here, and there's something you're like, I really want to know the answer, and it's not something about what happens in season 3, you can tweet me, and I'll try to respond to you that way.
Same with me. I'm at Keating Rogers, capital K, capital R, and I'll answer questions too. And I will totally answer the season 3 questions. But the thing that I wanted to share with you guys, since I carried my ukulele all the way here on my back.
I nearly forgot.
In a snowstorm.
How could I?
Daniel, I don't know if you did the theme song, right? Okay. Early on in production, when we were just starting out, Lauren asked me to do a version of the theme song. And so I wrote something, and I based it completely on the 80s version of the song. So this is not going to sound like Daniel's awesomeness. And just all sorts of, and he's not going to get to hear it either.
That's why it's being recorded.
A couple, I guess, caveats. I learned to play the ukulele a month ago. So that's first.
I love how she has the sheet music right there too.
Second, well, I need to know the words.
Oh, yeah.
Second, the lyrics were intended to go through every character and who are these main six. And also, Twilight's name is different. You guys know that her name was different at points. And the name that we hadn't decided on the title. It wasn't Friendship is Magic at that point. So here we go. I'm a little nervous. My little pony, the magic of friendship. Come on, let's meet our pony friends. There's Twilight Twinkle, a unicorn pony. To books and lessons she must tend. Fluttershy takes care of all the sweet creatures. She's timid, yet she's brave. Rainbow Dash races with Pegasus passion. Too bad that pony won't behave. Applejack works hard just like all Earth ponies, putting the pony before the cart. Unicorn Rarity finds all the great treasures, filling their beauty with her heart. Pinkie Pie's laughter is what makes her special. Her sweetness shines out bright and strong. Together these six friends are learning together. With friendship they just can't go wrong. In Ponyville they find the magic of friendship will guide them on their way. My little pony, the magic of friendship, find friendship every day. True friendship, come what may.
Thank you.
Now we gotta go eat snack.
And on that note, we have to wrap this up. So I think keep standing and keep applauding for Meghan McCarthy, Amy Keating Rogers, and all the way over in scenic Vancouver, BC, Canada, Mr. Daniel Ingram. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Mike. See you guys.
I know, I was just like, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, but earlier in the panel too, you were saying if you stop at the con store to get ready for the autograph signing.